The festive season is upon us and many of us will be hitting the malls for a little shopping spree. But experts caution not to get carried away with shopping and spend what could be used for necessities like school fees early next year. They warn that lack of proper planning will lead to over-indebtedness and inability to meet commitments.
2014 has not been an easy year for consumers. They faced several challenges stemming from the economy growing at a sluggish 1.4%, meaning prospects for job creation were dim. Inflation at 5.9% in October, after it had been above the Reserve Bank's target of 6% since March. Interest rates going up, though marginally any increase means that paying back debt becomes more expensive. While petrol prices have begun a downward trend, they have been high for most of the year. The electricity prices have also gone up, wiping off consumers' disposable income.
The general cost of living just has been very, very high for consumers. And that unfortunately means that we don't have a cushion because we can't save. If your debt to disposable income is quite high, it means that we're still at a position as South Africans where most of the current expenditure that we see on a day-to-day basis is financed by credit. And that's not where we want to be. You can also look at the savings figures to see that household saving is actually very, very low. And as a nation, we also don't save, which means we depend on foreigners for financing investment expenditure.
The difficult position consumers find themselves in leads to them turning to credit to get by. The National Credit Regulator says more are still applying for credit, but credit providers are cautious in extending loans.
We've seen on average, a slowdown in the growth of the new credit that has actually been extended. And the number of rejections as well is also a contributing factor because credit providers have generally been very stringent with regards to extending new credit. We've seen on average about 60% of applications being rejected of new credit.
The National Debt Mediation Agency says the number of consumers asking for help with managing their debt has increased, another symptom of the difficult conditions consumers are facing.
The number of people with impaired records has increased and it has not decreased even when the amnesty was implemented. But what we see with consumers, they take too long before they ask for help. So a lot of them would get judgments, would get gun issue orders or emolument attachment orders against their salaries. And really, they are not taking the initiative to very early on, when they see that they are struggling with repayments, to ask for help.
Experts say it will help if consumers realize early on that they are heading for financial trouble.
When you have a situation where at the end of the month you can't pay all the things that you need to pay for, it therefore means that it's now beginning to be a red light, because it therefore means that either you've overextended yourself, or in terms of, in some instances it's because we extend ourselves, and in some instances it's because we want to be like the Joneses. And that's the issue that we always need to manage, because when you live beyond your means, that's when the red lights actually stop. When you start having situations where, for example, you take a credit card and you use it for food, it therefore means that there's a problem. There's nothing wrong with having a credit card, but once you use it for things that are basic needs, you use it for food, you use it for paying electricity and water, it means there's a bit of a problem.
While some consumers are feeling the pinch, some are planning festivities to wrap up 2014.
I'll be going home for 1 week, but I can't afford to buy a present for everyone. Maybe I'll buy for my 2 kids.
I'm going to be leaving for the UK on the 27th to spend time with my daughter and her husband, and I hope to do some shopping.
No, we're not traveling, it's too expensive. It's too expensive to travel. Yeah, but we'll be around.
We've actually got plans to go to Australia this Christmas. My sister-in-law and them just immigrated to Australia, and we're planning on going to visit them as a surprise.
Consumers are advised to be cautious as they enjoy their festive season and think of January when schools will be opening and companies reopen. Money will be needed for school necessities and transport.
If you do get to spend and you do get to acquire credit, please bear in mind that can you, on your salary, afford, say, a 1 percentage point, 2 percentage point increase in interest rate as you service that debt? Certainly, while we expect the economy to do better next year, it's not going to do well enough for you to have an excessive increase in your salary. So servicing debt, salary increase, the fact that all other things are still quite expensive, you're going to get medical aid increases come the 1st of January next year. You need to take those things into consideration.
Enjoy yourself within a budget and find ways to minimize your expenses. Share your expenses. If you are going to entertain people at home, share your expenses. Ask people to bring something rather than carrying the costs of the whole event. And if you've exhausted your budget, don't go over it. Don't go to borrow for entertainment. Find ways of, instead of buying gifts, maybe make your own gifts. So there are many ways. If you are going to travel long distance, maybe share the transport cost, the petrol cost.
Make sure that before you pay, you buy the food for Christmas and you buy the clothes for Christmas and you make whatever parties you require. Buy the uniform at the end of the year so that you don't have to have challenges at the beginning of the year. Make sure that you pay at least part of the school fees, because the challenge that we have in many instances is between January and March.
Going forward, electricity prices will go up next year, promising to squeeze consumers' disposable income even more. The economy is expected to grow at 2.5% in 2015. And while this is not at a level required for the economy to create enough jobs and to reduce the high unemployment rate, 2015 promises to be a better year compared to this year, on condition that we do not see any more crippling strikes. Gloria Stefago, SABC News, Johannesburg.